Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Before I start, I like to invoke the presence of my gurus, my guru, Swami Shantanand Saraswati, and his guru, Swami Shivananda Saraswati. And in their holy presence, I'd like to share these ideas, drawing inspiration from them on the beautiful significance of Navaratri and the Divine Mother. We are today on the second day of Navaratri, which is the third Tithi, because this year Navaratri is reduced to 8 days, with the first 2 digits of the moon, the Prathamai and Dvitiyai digits of the moon, coming together yesterday. So the days for Durga, which are usually the first 3 days of Durga, are celebrated over 2 days. First 3 days are collapsed into 2 days. And the consecutive days are 3 for Lakshmi and Saraswati, as we normally celebrate. So yesterday we explored a beautiful composition of the great poet Mahakavi Subramanya Bharatiyar, based on the composition or the poem of his known as Navaratri Pattu, which celebrated the Divine Mother as Parashakti, the primordial energy, the Shakti, the power of this universe, dividing herself as Parvati, Lakshmi, and Saraswati, or Durga Lakshmi Saraswati. Today we are on the beautiful second day of the third Tithi, Tritiyai of Navaratri, and the Ratri is very significant, the night. Why is the Divine Mother celebrated at night? Legend goes that she annihilated over 9 different demons, culminating ultimately with Mahishasura, the formidable foe. And all these demons represent the many vices, as you all would already know, within us, like lust, greed, anger, hatred, jealousy, slothfulness, what have you. And all these, in Hindu thought, we have 6 enemies, Shadripu. And these Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsaryam are represented by these asuras. So she is seen to kill over the 9 nights Madhu Kaitabha, Shumba Nishumba, Rakta Bija, and Chandamunda, and Mahisha. So these are all the kind of demons that she is seen to kill, which represent within us all that which is negative. So she comes as a primordial force of all the gods coalesced into one. And that composite Jyoti, the composite light of all the gods of the entire Hindu array of deities, they all converge and form into this one powerful energy called Mahadurga, and she annihilates the demons. And why is it the night time? Why is it Ratri? Why do we celebrate this at night? Because it is at night that the demons come out to play. Because at night is when the human being is finished his work, and then in his leisure, in his idleness, the devil has its workshop at night. At night, we have the nightclubs, we have the places of gambling, we have the places of drinking, of enjoying life, as if there is no end to life. We have this false imagination. And so all the vices come out and they are allies, you know, they have allies. One vice would have another vice as a friend. So they all come out at night. And so at night, she becomes very active to counter them. Because in the daytime, they all go dormant. They all go into hiding. So like this, the 9 nights are celebrated. But the night itself, the Ratri, the Divine Mother is known as Kala Ratri. If you sit on a balcony or on a terrace and you just look at the night sky with a myriad number of stars, the moon, that vastness of space, that itself is the Divine Mother, Kali, the black one, timeless, eternity. So that itself can be a beautiful Navaratri meditation when we just sit and we just stare at the sky above us. We contemplate on the night of the 9 nights. The night itself is the Divine Mother, for there she stands fully blown, time eternal, without beginning or end. Time beyond words. So the mind loses its concreteness to contain itself in that vastness and joins the expanse, the Kalaratri that she is. Hence, she is black in color. Hence, Lord Krishna is black in color. They all symbolize that eternal quality, eternity, timeless. So that is a beautiful Navaratri, the auspicious nights, the nights of vanquishing that which is negative or evil. Today, I would like to share with you a beautiful shloka from a stotram known as the Rajarajeshwari Stotram, Ashtakam. And the very first verse of that, many of us here would already know that, but many of us may not know the Sanskrit. You may not come from the background. So I will share the beautiful verse. It's a popular verse on Divine Mother in her aspect as Rajarajeshwari, or the Queen of Queens. She's the cosmic queen of the universe. She's like in one version, she's also seen as the Queen Bee, Brahmaramba, where all the bees, all of us are the workers in her mighty kingdom. We're all working for her, for she is the progenitor. She is the creatrix. She is the matrix. She is the mother who gives birth to this entire universe and who is the reason of this entire universe and who absorbs everything back into herself. So in one version, she is known as Brahmarambika, the queen bee, the mother bee. But here she is Rajarajeshwari, the queen of queens. She's the cosmic monarch of the universe. In Hinduism, we have many deities, but all deities represent the same one Parabrahman. There are various names of the one nameless and formless being, that one nameless and formless Allah, God, whatever you call him. But in Hinduism, we have personifications because the relationship that we have with that God is on a personal, beautiful human relationship. God, who created us in families and with friends, will definitely know what a relationship is, what depthful relationships and bondings are. So she is the greatest bond that we could have, the motherly, the maternal bond. And with the invisible umbilical cords, she sustains every being in this universe. That formless God assumes the form of a mother worship, as the creatrix, the monarch, the universal queen. So this is a famous verse in praise of Rajarajeshwari, and it goes like this: Amba Shambhavi Chandramauli Abala Aparna Uma Parvati Kali Haimavati Shiva Trinayana Kartyayani Bhairavi Savitri Navayovana Shubhakari Samrajya Lakshmi Prada Chidrupi Paradevata Bhagavati Shri Rajarajeshwari. Many of you may already know it, but it's always lovely to revisit things that we know. There is something so special about spiritual texts and the Puranas, like the Ramayana and the Bhagavatam, the Mahabharatam and Devi Bhagavatam. All these stories are like the Divine Mother. They are ever new, they are ever fresh. Each time we hear it, we are thrilled to hear the same story again, like a child would tell his mother, please tell me the same story again. Because that is the quality, the divine quality, the ever new, the ever refreshing quality. It doesn't diminish in its beauty. It only appreciates in its beauty. That is divine beauty. That is divine bliss. It is not depreciating with saturation. It grows. So Amba Shambhavi, what do these words mean? Amba is the Sanskrit word for mother. When we say Amba, it is like in Tamil we say Amma or Ma. So these are all derivatives from the Sanskrit Amba. Oh mother, the first relationship that we have, that Amba. For a mother, however bad her child is, she always will feel this boy will change, this girl will change, she will become better. She's always protective, even if the child errs or makes mistakes or is a horrible criminal, the mother would always live in that hope and in the total belief that her child will become good and will continue to impartially shower her love and sustenance on the child. So that is Amba, the relationship with the divine as the mother has a great quality of the all forgiving and the all accepting state, and that is Amba. Shambhavi. Shambhavi is the female of Shambhu. Shambhu is a name of Lord Shiva, which means he who brings bliss, who brings the bliss, the joy, the beauty. So Shambhavi is the female of Shambhu, the female aspect of Lord Shiva, the feminine, the same quality of bringing bliss, the female aspect. Amba Shambhavi Chandramauli. On her maulam, on her forehead, just above her forehead, she spots a crescent moon. Why does Lord Shiva and why does Devi have a crescent moon on their foreheads? What is the symbolism? The moon is a symbol of time because the digits of the moon tell us the days of the month. From the first thin sliver of a moon crescent, and then it starts to wax right up till the full moon. We have 15, 14 days to the full moon, and then it starts to wane down back, and each digit tells us the particular day. So it's a symbol of time. So when she wears the moon, it symbolizes that she's timeless because it is the moon, which is time, is merely an ornament for her, who is timeless. The eternal mother spots the crescent moon, the first digit of time, the first symbol of time, as merely an ornament. While we are subject to time, she is above time. She is deathless and birthless. So that is why she wears a moon. Amba Shambhavi Chandramauli Abala Aparna. Abala means the Bala is strength. Abala is no strength. How can the Divine Mother not have strength? Abala. Abala is another term for the lady, the weaker sex, we say. But actually, I don't know whether that is correct because who is weaker, who is stronger in what ways. But in ancient India also, the fairer sex or the weaker one, the more demure rather, is Abala, the one who is delicate, Abala. Aparna, Uma, Parvati. These three epithets or these three names of the Divine Mother, they come together. Aparna, Uma, Parvati. And I will tell you a little story that is connected with these three names. They come together as a story. The story goes that Parvati, the Divine Mother, was born, as I told you yesterday, the symbolism of her being born to Himavan, the Parvata Raja, the king of mountains. Parvatam is mountain, and Parvati is she who is born to a mountain. As I told you yesterday, how the mountain represents a trikonam of creation, sustenance, and dissolution. And in that, she comes out as the center, the centripetal and centrifugal force of this entire trikonam, which is like a mountain. Also, I also mentioned to you how in the original ice ages, when the entire mountains shifted and started to melt and then go into plates that formed the earth, then the earth started to flourish with vegetation and fauna and flora. So that shift and the creation of the earth from that ice age is like the birth of the Divine Mother from the mountains. So she is the Prakriti, the Mahaprakriti, the great nature. So she was born to Parvata Raja. In mythology, the king of the mountains, he lived as the Raja of the Himalayas, Himachala. And as a little girl, she heard of the glory of Lord Shiva, and she was bent because of her previous incarnation as Dakshayani, as the very spouse of Lord Shiva. She was drawn back to attain Lord Shiva as her husband. So for which she goes into deep penance. She hears about him and she hears of how glorious he is. And she goes into deep penance. She does great penance. She stands on one foot in front of 4 fires. We call it the Panchagni, the sun, the scorching sun of the summertime is also one of the fires from above. And she plants herself in the middle of 4 pits of fire. She meditates on the glaciers of the Himalayas on one foot in the extreme cold, extreme heat. She goes against the pairs of opposites, and then she starts to fast to attain Lord Shiva as her husband. She gives up food first, then she gives up eating fruit. Then she also gives up eating leaves. So Parna in Sanskrit is leaf. So her name is Aparna. Aparna means the one who did not even eat a leaf, a single leaf. Aparna. So Aparna, and she became so emaciated, she became almost like a skeleton. That thin she had become, and she had become virtually a bones, and she's standing there on one foot. Now the news of her penance has reached her mother, the Parvata Rani, that is Parvata Raja, the king of the Himalayas. His wife hears of her daughter going through such penance, and she wants to see her daughter, and she wants to prevent her from doing this and destroying herself. So she goes into the forest in search of her daughter Parvati, and there she chances upon her, and she can't believe the sight to see her daughter all bones. She goes, "Ooh, ma, ooh, how frightening this is to see my daughter." Ooh, she goes, "Ooh, ma." So the word Uma comes from the exclamation of her mother, Parvatarani. She earns that name Uma. That Parvati earned the name Uma from her own mother's lips when she exclaimed when she saw her daughter. So Aparna, Uma, Parvati. So do you see the connection here? Now Aparna, she didn't even eat leaves. Then associated meaning Uma, Parvati. Of course, the story goes that Lord Shiva comes to wed her, and he plays a trick on her. He comes in the disguise of a old Brahmin, and comes and he wakes her from her meditation. And being a learned holy man, she breaks out of her meditation and falls at his feet. And in his disguise, he asks her, "Why are you doing this great penance, oh princess? You are a princess, you know. Why are you looking like this, so emaciated and so thin and so like a skeleton? What has happened? What are you doing this great penance for?" She says with great piety and with great devotion, she says, "You know, this is to attain Lord Shiva as my very Lord, as my very husband, so that I could serve him." And he starts to laugh and he says, "Are you mad? You know, Lord Shiva, he's a mendicant, he's madman. He lives in the crematorium and he begs from a skull. He lives with the ghouls and goblins, and he's wearing tattered clothes. Come on. And he's also frightening. He's got all the snakes on his body, and he's got 3 eyes. Far cry from you are a princess, glorious daughter of the mountains. This doesn't make sense at all that you want to marry Lord Shiva. So she gets very irate and very angry. And she says she controls herself because he's an elderly man and a holy man. So she tries, but finally, as he goes on ridiculing Shiva, she gets very angry finally, and she says, "Get out of here! I'm unable to bear this anymore. I cannot bear anyone insulting him, who is the Lord of the universe and who is his all those symbols that you say of his renunciation. These are great symbols of a yogi, a great mendicant that he is. You cannot talk like this. Get away," he says, and she brushes his hand. Her hand says, "Get away," and she doesn't want to see him. And at that time, the Brahmin old man catches her hand and reveals himself as Lord Shiva himself. And she turns around and she is all in awe, and they are immediately, the divine wedlock takes place in the beautiful pavilion of Kailash, Mount Kailash, and all the gods and devas, both the Ganas, everything, everybody is present there. And that is a beautiful Parvati Kalyanam, that he comes and teases her and woos her. So those words, Aparna, Uma, Parvati. So that is a beautiful way it has unfolded. Amba, mother, Shambhavi, she who brings bliss and joy, Shambhavi. Chandramauli, who is timeless, wearing the digit of the moon as her crest jewel. Amba, Shambhavi, Chandramauli, Abala. Abala means, Abale in Tamil means the demure, ladylike, the weaker one. Abala, Aparna. Abala is also connected to Aparna because she becomes so weak and emaciated. Abala, Aparna, Uma, Parvati. Then she is seen as Kali. Kali, as you know, is these 3 days, the first 3 days of a Durga, and Kali is an aspect of Durga. She's seen with black in color with her tongue out. Black, as I told you at the very beginning, is the symbol of the night sky that shows us eternity and infinity. And she, that Kali, in the Devi Bhagavatam, in the Devi Mahatmyam, rather, when Devi Durga was waging this war against the demons, there was one particular demon by the name of Rakta Bija, who every drop of blood that when he was pierced by a trident or an arrow, every drop of blood would emerge as another asura, as another Rakta Bija. And like this, he was multiplying, in the spiritual path. When we try to control anger, on the one hand, we are trying to control our anger. Suddenly, we feel we succeeded. But before we know it, on one more side, we have developed greed. We want to eat this, we want to eat that, we want to do that, we want to do this. So as we clamp one demon, one more demon becomes stronger. Then we try to clamp that fellow. When we clamp that fellow, some other demon, jealousy, will start to sprout inside out. So like this Rakta Bija represents this struggle of the devotee to control his mind and to free himself from several vices. So this Rakta Bija goes on with every drop multiplying, like exponentially, like the coronavirus. At one point, it was exponentially just hitting the earth. So then the devas, they run and plead at Durga's feet as she's waging this war. I said, "Mother, the more you kill this guy, the more he's multiplying." So in a fit of anger, the divine mother Durga frowned. And she frowned and looking at him, she went hum with a very strong vibration. She bellowed this sound, hum, and then she frowned, and from her frown emerged this dark lady, black. She emerged from the frown of Durga. And she spotted a long tongue. red. What she did was she rolled that tongue right into the battlefield, and like a vacuum cleaner, she sucked up every drop of blood into herself. And that is how the origin of Kali as a goddess who consumes every drop of blood and transmutes the evil into something good. So this is the beautiful story that is related to the beginnings of the concept of Kali. And of course, Kali as the Divine Mother is seen as wearing skulls, which shows the ego of man. The head represents in India we say head weight. Head weight is a symbol of Talagadam, is a head weight means arrogance. The heads represent the arrogance, the ego. And then she spots a garland of forearms of people. She wears that. And that represents the karmas or the actions of human beings. She takes that. She severs the Atma. She liberates the soul by freeing it from its karmas and bondages and its ego sense. So she's seen as a great liberator, the one who liberates mankind into the realization that they are not confined to this false idea that one is the body and one is bound by one's actions. She liberates us into the consciousness that, like herself, we are part of that vast blackness, that vast infinity. So that is the power of Kali. Kali, who was the mother of one of the greatest saints of India, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who spoke to him, who ate from his hands, that Divine Mother. That is the powerful mother of Sri Ramakrishna, whose beautiful temple stands in Dakshineshwar on the banks of the Ganga near Calcutta in Bengal, and who is the heartthrob of all Bengalis of Bengali origin, Mother as Kali, as that fearful form. Though she's so fearful, she's so beautiful, and she's all compassion. So that concept of infinity as a lady, that Kali, the timeless. Kali, Haimavati, what I told you yesterday, born of Himavan, again, another epithet of her, as bornest of the mountain daughter, born of the snow-capped mountains. Hima also means snow. Himalaya means the abode of snow. So she's born of that snow-capped mountains. Haimavati, Kali, Haimavati, Shiva. When we say in Sanskrit, when the second syllable is elongated, it becomes feminine. Shiva, Shiva. Shiva is male, Shiva is female. That's why in the beautiful Ardhanarishwara Stotram, we have Namah Shivaya Icha, Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya Icha. Shivaya means Devi. First to Devi, to bow to the Shiva, and Namah Shivaya. Rama, Rama, Rama. Rama is Lakshmi, Rama is Vishnu. So that when the second syllable is Krishna, is Draupadi, because she was also called Krishna. When the na is elongated, it is female. Krishna, the shortened, is male. So like this, when the second syllable Shiva is, Shiva means that which is auspicious, that which is beauty, joy, and love, all coalesced into one. When something is beautiful, we love it. Why do we love that which is beautiful? Because it creates joy. That instant that we see something beautiful, that very instant it is beauty, joy, and love happening at the same time. They're not three separate things. So those three separate things coalesced into one is called Shiva, or Mangalam, or Kalyanam, or Shubham. That Shivam means that. So Shiva. Trinayana. She has 3 eyes. Like Lord Shiva, Trinayana. Na, when it's long, then it becomes female. The 3 eyes, the eyes which see the physical world, and the intuitive eye of wisdom, which sits between the forehead where we place the kumkum. She's seen spotting 3 eyes. So the 3 eyes are her three eyes, Trinayana. Kartyayani, how does it go? Amba, Shambhavi, Chandramouli, Abala, Aparna, Uma, Parvati, Kali, Haimavati, Shiva, Trinayana, Kartyayani. Kartyayani is the form of the Devi who is just about to wage war with Mahishasura. She has got onto the lion and she's about to move into the battlefield. That form of the Devi is called Kartyayani. And that Divine Mother in the form of Kartyayani is very incidental. This form of the Divine Mother, Kartyayani, is worshipped by the gopis of Braja. When Lord Krishna was in the time of Lord Krishna, all the young milk maidens, they desired to marry Lord Krishna. Marry means not just physically marry like this, not a physical contact, but for their souls to be united and to lose themselves in him. So for that marriage to take place, they used to observe what is known as a vrata or a fasting in the month of Dhanur, in the wintry months of Margari, in middle December to mid-January, in that wintry months, the Gopastris or the milkmaids of Vrindavan, they worshipped this beautiful Devi, Kartyayani, a village goddess. I'll tell you about the village goddess. Under a Kadamba tree on the banks of the Yamuna, they used to dip themselves in the early hours of the morning at 4 in the morning to lose body consciousness, to lose the idea that they are a physical body. They bathe, they fast, they forget that they are physical beings, and they worship this beautiful form of Devi as Kartyayani beneath the tree. They perambulate the tree, circumambulate the tree, and they bow to that Devi and they say, Kartyayani Mahamaye Mahayogin Yatishwari Nandagopa Sutam Dehi Patim Me Kurute Namaha. O Kartyayani, you are the great Mahamaya that deceives us all, that makes us feel that we are separate from each other, that we are separate entities. Mahayogin, you are the one who will unite us ultimately back to our source. Mahayogin, Yatishwari, you are the leader of all yogis and swamis and sadhus and yatis. Yatishwari, O Mother, Nandagopa Sutam, the son of Nandagopa, give him to us as our husband. Nandagopa Sutam De Namaha. May you perform the act where he will become our Lord. So they seek Lord Krishna through the grace of the great Mahamaya as Kartyayani. The prayer is Kartyayani Mahamaya. So that is a beautiful Kartyayani. Devi, about to wage war as Durga, but here she confers the boon to young girls to get a husband who is Lord Krishna himself. That is a beautiful Kartyayani. Kartyayani Bhairavi, is it? Apana, Abarna, Uma Parvati, Kali, Haimavati, Shivatri, Nayana, Kartyayani, Bhairavi. Bhairavi is a very interesting name. It comes from the word beta or to fear. She dispels the fear. She dispels the fear on the one side to the devotee, but she induces the fear in the enemy. So usually the idea of Bhairavi or Bhairava is seen as a village deity who protects the village, who is a kawal. We call, like in Malay, kawalan. Kawal means to protect, to security. A security guard. The Divine Mother is also a security guard, like her husband Kala Bhairava. They both sit on the fringe, on the fringe of the village, And whoever comes into the village or goes out of the village, they would offer a worship to this Bhairavi. Lord Krishna promises Devi that she would be in every single village of India, guarding the whole country, protecting everybody as the mother would protect her children. So here you go. Bhairavi means she who is the protectress. Bhairavi, Kartyayani, Bhairavi. Savitri. Savitri is, of course, a character from the Mahabharata, but here it is not that Savitri. Savitri is the Vedic goddess, the mother of the Vedas. Savitri is the effulgence of the sun. The brilliance of the sun is the sun, the Surya Bhagavan. And he represents the inner enlightenment of wisdom. And Savitri is the feminine form of Savitri, or the light of wisdom. The light that is beseeched in the Gayatri mantra, for instance. We say, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur. That Savitur there is the Savitur, the prayer is not addressed to the sun god. A lot of people think that the Gayatri mantra is addressed to the sun god, but it is not. The sun is a representative of the light of soul, light of our souls, the light of God, the light that shines inside each heart. So that Savitri, she represents the Vedic goddess, the Vedic mother, Savitri. Nava Yauvana. Nava is new, Yauvana is young. She's eternally young. You never see her as old. Nava Yauvana. New, Nava is new. The English word new comes from Nava actually. Yauvana, youth. The English word youth comes from Yauvana, Yuva. So these English words find their trace into the Sanskrit. So Nava is new, and ever young. Nava Yauvana. She is ever new and ever young means, as I said, a bliss that when you learn economics, you learn about diminishing marginal utility. The third ice cream or the fourth ice cream, and you cannot take it. You cannot eat ice cream after that. But with the divine bliss and the divine joy, it appreciates. That is why people go into meditation 1, 2, 3, 4. They lose themselves in the number of hours of losing themselves in that super consciousness, that ever newness. Everything is so creatively unique in this universe. We look at the skyline. Every day, the formation of the clouds are ever new. They never repeat their formations. Every leaf on a tree is unique. There's no two leaves that are replicating each other. Even if they replicate, there will be perfection in that replication. But every human being is so ever newly different. The uniqueness, the difference, that ever newness in creation, that is the Divine Mother, Nava Yauvana. Shubhake, she who brings auspiciousness. As I told you, that word Shubha is same as Shiva, which means the coalescing of three ideas of love, beauty, and joy, how these three coalesce together to form one composite. That Shubham is hard to translate into English because in English, they have separated the three. The experiential bliss of beauty and love, that all three together coming together. Shubhakari. Samrajya Lakshmi Prada. She bestows upon her devotee to become the monarch of a land where all the citizens of this land are Lakshmis. That means you are not, I mean, I'm not making fun or ridiculing anything, not making you the king of Ethiopia or a very poor country, but making you the king of a very rich country. That means how rich would you be? Samrajya Lakshmi, in that Lakshmi Samrajyam, where all the citizens of that country are Lakshmis, they're goddesses of wealth. She grants a wealth that is immeasurable. The monarchy that she gives to the devotee, Lakshmi Prada, she grants that. And that is the kind of wealth that you find that the great yogis, her great sons of India, Adi Shankaracharya, the rishis, the saints, Shivananda, Yogananda, they are the richest people in this universe. At their command, they can just manifest whatever they want. That sort of Rajyam, Samrajya Lakshmi. She confers upon those who are totally renunciant, who don't want anything, everything she gives them. That's the kind of Lakshmi Samrajyam which she confers. Samrajya Lakshmi Prada Chidrupi. She is of the form of consciousness in all of us. We are conscious beings. You can see, hear, touch, feel, think. And then at night, when you go to deep sleep, everything is dissociated. So a big bomb can fall and somebody can shout your name 100 times, but you cannot hear it. You cannot feel it. The air conditioning can go off and you can't, maybe you might suddenly get up, but you wouldn't feel it initially for a long time. That consciousness, she is the power to create the consciousness once again. That is why Divine Mother is seen, even here in my puja, we have her as Rajarajeshwari. And in Rajarajeshwari, she has a sugarcane bow and 5 arrows, 5 flowery arrows in her hand. The sugarcane bow with its rings, they represent the vertebrae of the spinal column. And the 5 flowery arrows represent arrows, like how we learn in neuroscience that the senses, they are like, they hit upon the sight, it sees an object, and the impulse goes and hits on that particular nerve that connects to the spine, and then the brain registers that as an object. So this whole, the 5 senses in connection with the bow of the spine is like a bow, and the 5 arrows are the constant impulses that we feel from each sense. So this entire union of the sense and the spine and their nerve endings, the connection of which causes this world to be real. This otherwise, if we did not have that consciousness of these 5 senses, this world play would be, we would not know this world play. We would not experience this thing called this world. It'll be a non-existent thing. We exist because of our consciousness. We know that we can feel, see, hear, taste, touch, and so on. And so she holds this world play with the spine and the 5 senses. She makes this world real. But when she dissociates it, she liberates you into her super consciousness, where we realize that beyond everything we are. So that is why she has this beautiful bow and arrow in her hand. She's seen. Chidrupi, she's of that form of consciousness. Paradevata, she's the cosmic Paradevata. As I told you yesterday, Para means the abstract absolute. That Paradevata, Bhagavati, the great goddess, Shri Rajarajeshwari. She's the queen of queens. There she sits upon in the Kolu and the Navaratri, we have so many steps. Right in the middle on the top, you will find this Rajarajeshwari, the queen. The entire Kolu would show the entire different planes of consciousness and existence, from plant to the animal, human being, like this, gods, demigods, like that. And all the planes of consciousness, right on top there, she sits as the beautiful queen, Rajarajeshwari, who not only became this world, she sustains this world, and then she dissolves this world once again into itself. So this is a beautiful, beautiful shlokam which everybody knows, and I mean lots of people know, and maybe those of you who may not know have heard it for the first time. And through the shloka, we get to feel the ancient, the Vedas, in a beautiful song. They say, "Oh Divine Mother." Even the Vedas, they struggle to speak of your glory, of your beauty. Vedangalum unadu mahimai virittidapomu. Vang manasadi duram. In the beautiful Lalita Pancharatana, beyond the thought and word is this Divine Mother. She's God absolute. You can call it Divine Mother, Divine Father, Holy Father, thou art in heaven. Whoever you are, you are beyond words. You're beyond the conception of words. But yet, because we are embodied and because we are bound by words, the rishis, out of compassion, try to give us the best words to describe them. And these words of the Rajarajeshwari Ashtakam is one such beautiful shloka. Amba Shambhavi, O mother, the one who brings bliss to everyone. Amba Shambhavi Chandramauli, who spots the crescent moon. Chandramauli. Abala, the weaker one. Abala, Aparna, who never even ate a leaf. Aparna. Uma, oh, so emaciated. Uma, Parvati, the daughter of Parvata. Kali, the limitless skyline that you are. Eternity. Kali, Haimavati, born of Himavan. Shivatri Nayana, Shiva, the auspicious one with 3 eyes. Shivatri Nayana, Kartyayani, the one who granted the gopis their beloved Krishna. Kartyayani, who got upon the lion. Kartyayani, Bhairavi, who induces fear in the enemies. Bhairavi, the protector of every village. Kartyayani, Bhairavi. Savitri, the effulgence of the soul. Savitri, Navayovana, ever new, ever young, ever fresh, ever new bliss. Nothing that goes stale. Every day is a unique, beautiful. Every wave in the ocean is a unique shape and size. Kartyayani, Bhairavi, Savitri, Navayovana, Shubhakari, the one who brings auspicious Shubhakari. Samrajya Lakshmi Prada, she bestows all those who love your God with all your heart and soul. All things will be added on. And all those great ones who loved her beyond all their heart and soul, she bestowed on them Lakshmi Samrajyam. From Jesus to Buddha to everyone, they are the true Lakshmi Samrajyadipatis. They are truly the great, the richest of riches. Lakshmi Samrajya Prada, Chidrupi of consciousness, you are. Paradevata, oh cosmic mother. Bhagavati, oh goddess. Shri Raja Rajeshwari, oh queen of queens. So that's a beautiful shloka that I would like to share with you on this beautiful Tritiya, that is the third Tithi of Navaratri today. And I actually planned to share something else with you, and last minute before getting on, I decided to do this verse. So I'm just leaving it to the inspiration of the moment to share with you what you want. I forgot to tell you that I know I said these talks would be short, but I got carried away talking so long. It's almost going to be an hour long. But if you do have any questions that you like to ask, and I'll try to, with my limited knowledge, help you to try to understand, or I could try to find out for you at least, even if I don't know. If you have any questions and you like to ask, it may be interesting, because sometimes, you can just say anything, because sometimes talking to a screen like this is very, very, what do you call it, one way. I mean, you just feel that you're talking to the wall, I mean, with names on a screen. But if you do feel like telling me something or asking me something, please do that, because I would be so happy to try to think about what you say and try to find a meaning for what you ask. So if you have anything at the top of your head, even don't be shy to think that, oh, I don't know these Hindu goddesses, I don't know who they are, what they are. You can ask me the most silly, if you think, if it's a silly question, you can even ask me that, because I think nothing is so silly if you are wanting to learn something. We can all learn it together. So do ask me. And if you're coming tomorrow and you have a question and you want to ask that question before the class starts, then I could even gear the session to answer that question. So yeah.
Hari Om Shankar.
So that's a beautiful Navaratri. Yeah, please tell me, Soma.
So all this beauty that you mentioned about Devi, Amma and all, at the end of the day, it becomes nothing, correct? At the end, you go one circle, it's all nothingness at the end. So the question I have is, instead of going one circle with all this beauty, and then finally you come to, it comes back to nothing, is just consciousness.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very interesting thing that you have brought up. You see, because we are embodied people, because it is very hard for our minds to straight away grapple on something that is abstract. To say absolute nothingness, for our mind to hold on to that absolute nothingness is very difficult. That is why, out of great compassion, the great sages, they personified the deities. They personified them into a relationship that we can have with God, a deep relationship, the maternal relationship, the paternal relationship, the relationship of a child, the relationship, she who created us, that is the first thing. So a connection with that power as a mother, as a friend, as a child, as a servant, as a servant, as a dasa. So like this, many relationships have been pulled out into the form of a deity. And the deities are not unreal. God is in every single thing. You cannot exclude him from anything. You can take a stone and worship God, and God is in the stone as well as in a tree, as in the road, in the enemy, in everyone. So you are connecting with a spirit which is everywhere and everything. But because we are confined to a form, we have to go through that form in order to reach the formless. So that is why Vivekananda said, when people laughed at Hindus and said, you're worshipping stones. But he said, when you worship the stones, the names that you say to those stones are all nameless or formless. You say Nirgunaya Namaha, Nirakaraya Namaha, Nishkalaya Namaha, like this. So Chinmay is asking me to talk about Chintamani. Oh, you're asking me a very big question. I really don't know much, Chinnu, but I'll try. Yeah. The concept of the deity of God as a personalized being is very real. It's not, God is everything. So he can be a person, he can be a non-person, he can be you, he can be me, he can be ultimately everything. So for Meera, Krishna is not a mythical or a imaginary entity. For Sri Ramakrishna, Kali is not imagination. That Kali and that Krishna for Meera and the Kali for Ramakrishna is more real than you and me, because they flood the whole universe. They are the whole universe. And yet they are personal. So that is the Rama is called, right? Like Shiva and Krishna. Yeah. Let me see that. What is written there? Chintamrita. Rama is also called, right? Is like, yeah, that's right. Deepa, that's right. The second syllable, when you elongate it, it becomes feminine. Yeah. Could you please explain about Chintamani Graham tomorrow if you can? Curious to know about where Lalita Mahatripura Sundari is said to reside and any symbolism behind that. Thank you in advance. Yeah, a lot of spiritual literature, because of a want of the power of speech to describe the power that empowers you to talk. You lose words, because how do you go back behind that which makes you talk? So that is why the Puranic literature struggles to explicate things. So we come with very beautiful mythological, semi-real, semi-human, semi-divine, historical, yet not historical. It goes into thin film of time. Every religion has a section of mythology to grapple with these abstract ideas. So that if you take Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, every religion will have a section which is to do with, for a want of word, mythology. Myth is a funny English connotation, which means it's not real. But in the true sense, it is more real than what we think of as real, because it is dealing with the truth, which is abstract, which is abstruse, which is very fine and finely layered. So, yeah. I'm no authority. I just know a little bit. Whatever little bit I know, I'm sharing with you. So, yeah. So I think that wraps up tonight, and I thank you once again very much for patiently listening to this. I really don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I plan to share with you the Lalita Pancharatnam at some point, which are 5 beautiful verses on the Devi Lalita Mahatripura Sundari or Rajarajeshwari, who we spoke about today. So I would like to share that as a meditation which is concrete. And to answer Soma once again, that Lalita Pancharatam starts from the concrete and takes you to the abstract. Lot of concrete deity meditations, they start from the what is known as Saguna, which is a personification, to the impersonal or the abstract, from the idle to beyond that. So this is a beautiful process of expanding the mind from its confines and breaking the fetters that hold the mind to the body and its limitations, to go beyond that into the vast infinite sky that we are. So that is the beautiful Navaratri. I thank you once again, and Shivaratri. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om, and we'll see you tomorrow.